Now let's see TCP timer management. TCP is going to use lots of timers, and out of which the popular timers are like this: time wait timer, keep alive timer, persistent timer, acknowledgement timer, and timeout timer. So what is time wait timer? Let's go one by one. First one is time wait timer. So what is time wait timer is, whenever you get any request to close the connection, you don't close it immediately, you please wait for some time. So that what happens is, if you close the connection immediately, then your port number will become available to be used again by some other process. Then immediately, if some other process, okay, I'll take an example. See this. Now let us say there is a process A. I'm talking about the process. There is a process A which is having a connection opened with a process B, and it got that you please close the connection. Then immediately, if B closes the connection, then what happens is, its port number will become available to someone else. So before, whenever both these sides terminate the connection, it is better that they don't release the connection immediately, they wait for some time. Generally what they wait is, they will wait for 2 times the lifetime of a packet. So even though you get a request to close the connection, now you close it and inform the other side that you closed it, but then you don't release the resources, or you don't release the port number as of now. The reason is, any packet which got delayed, they might appear later when your port number has been assigned to some other process and when it is communicating. Let us say your port number used is 8080, and now you close the connection, and immediately the port number 8080 is assigned to someone else. Now whatever packet that has been sent previously to your host, to this process, now if that arrives late, then that will be directly given to this process by mistake. In order to avoid such situations, we are going to wait for 2 lifetimes. So after one lifetime is enough, which means if you send any packet now, that is supposed to come in 1 lifetime. But then if you wait for 2 lifetimes, and if you get more packets, you get them and discard them, so that you can correct such errors, right? What is the error? A process by mistake will take the packet which is supposed to come for a previous connection, right? So just to avoid that, we are going to use time wait timer. Whenever you decide about terminating the connection, don't terminate it immediately, wait for some time. How much time? At least 2 times the lifetime, right? And next one is keep alive timer. So keep alive timer is used in order to keep track of idle connections. Idle connections means, now let us assume that there is a server and there are many connections opened by many clients, right? And it is very busy and all its resources are given away. Then if a new connection request arrives, it may not be able to give it. The reason is, it is already busy with all the clients. But the problem is, sometimes some of the clients might not be using the connection. They have just opened the connection, but they are not sending any data and they are not doing any activity. But for them, some resources have been reserved, and that is completely a waste of time, isn't it? A waste of resources. So what should the server do is, it should periodically check for idle connections. Idle connections means the connections which are idle for a long time. It should periodically check for idle connections and then terminate it. So what is the main advantage of this keep alive timer is, in order to close the idle connections. I'll just explain you how this is done. Closing the idle connections done. Now let us say there is a client and there is a server. Whenever client sends any packet, then the server is going to start a timer called as keep alive timer, and whenever it sends the next packet, it will reset the keep alive timer. Therefore keep alive timer is going to remember when did we hear last time from a client, and if for a particular amount of time, for some small set of time, if we don't get any reply from the other side, which means within this time, if I don't get any more packets, then I will assume that the other side is dead. So what I do is, I will wait for some time, called as keep alive time, and then I will send a probe saying that are you alive, a probe message. The details of probe I am not going to discuss about it, not important, but just understand that there is a probe message sent. Now to this probe message, the other side should reply. If the other side doesn't reply to this probe message, I am going to close the connection, thinking that other side is dead. right? And it is not just one probe, so it will send actually 10 probes, 10 probes with a gap of 75 seconds. That is configurable. It is not exactly 75 seconds in all the implementations, that is configurable. But then the concept is, you wait for some time. If you don't hear back anything from the client, you assume that the client is down, then we are going to send the probe messages, some few probe messages, right? And for all these few probe probe messages, if you don't get back any reply, then you can think that client is down and we can close the connection. So what is probe message and how long is this interval, that all depends on the implementation. I am not going to talk about it, okay? So that is how idle connections are going to be taken care. Why is this timeout timer going to be useful? To take care of late packets. Which means if a packet is late, then you wait for all the packets to arrive, so that you get all the packets which are even late and then close the connection. Therefore, next time if anyone is using your same port number, they will not be bothered. Which means it is like this. Let us say you are using a house now, and now you have to pay the current bill. You didn't pay it and you vacated it, and someone else came next and they are using the same house, they have to pay the bill. So that is why you wait until you get the bill and then pay it and then leave. So similarly here also the same concept. You generally don't close the connection immediately, you wait until you get all the packets, then you discard them and then you leave it, so that next one who is going to use the same port number will not face any problem. And what about keep alive timer? It is used to close the idle connections. And persistent timer, we have already seen it. Why is persistent timer used? Whenever the sender, let us say this is sender and this is receiver, whenever receiver advertises that its window size is 0, then the sender should periodically probe, saying that, asking what its capacity is. So for that periodic probing, we are going to use persistent timer. I discussed this in the what is this, flow control. In flow control and advertisement window, in flow control topic, I discussed about this in detail. So this is used whenever window size is 0 is advertised. And what about acknowledgement timer is, I told you that TCP is a cumulative acknowledgements, uses cumulative acknowledgements, which means for many bytes it is going to send just one. So whenever you send many packets for many segments, and for all these segments it will maintain a timeout, it will maintain a timer, and within this timer called as acknowledgement timer, how many ever segments are received, for all these segments you will send out one acknowledgement. So this is called acknowledgement timer. So acknowledgement timer is used so that for many segments you can send one acknowledgement, which is called cumulative acknowledgement. And moreover, acknowledgement timer is also used so that within this time you could generate some data, and when you are sending out that data, on that data you are going to put the acknowledgement for piggybacking acknowledgement. Therefore acknowledgement timer is used to implement both cumulative acknowledgements as well as piggybacking acknowledgements, right? And now there is next one is timeout timer. So timeout timer is a bit complex to explain. We shall discuss about the timeout timer now. Okay.